From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Digital Strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's show, Ryan Waterbury joins me for Agency Chat, and we're going to talk about AI and the agency life. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by All-in-One WP Migration, the most trusted WordPress migration plugin with over 60 million sites served. Whether you are switching hosts, changing domains, or moving to a new server, All-in-One WP Migration makes it one click. Try it for free at WordPress.org or visit servemass.com for pro features. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here, and today I have my guest, Mr. Ryan Waterbury. Hey Ryan, how you doing today?
Not bad. I am pleasantly comfortable with the windows open in the middle of June. And I took the office manager for, well, these days they're walks around the neighborhood instead of runs, but I threw on a hoodie in June at noon because it was cool.
It's cool here too, so there you go. Toronto is cool. And the only question at hand is the rain going to disappear tomorrow afternoon during the World Cup outdoor game? That's all I can say.
Oh, good luck is all I can say there.
Yeah, no question on that one. Today we were kind of batting around the whole idea of AI and agency life and how it's everybody in AI is kind of taking the rah approach. They either love AI or they're whining and bitching and complaining about AI costing jobs. So I will tell you, I am not in the second camp. I am certainly in the camp that AI has made my life in parts of my business easier, but I'm also in the camp that in a lot of parts, it's made it very hard. And part of it being is I manage for security a whole pile of websites. And before I jump into the web world, I don't know how much you read, but this month in June 2026, Microsoft had over 300 security patches in Patch Tuesday on the Windows side. I don't know if you read that. And there's 3 or 4 major patches that aren't in there because a group disclosed them because it's a group with, and I forget the group's name. So, they have ex-Microsoft employees, and there's 4 or 5 big ones that they now have to issue an emergency patch. And what I would argue is the reason they're dealing with this is AI. What do you think?
Hands down, there's no question about it. And not just the Windows side, but my good buddy Linus Torvalds has complained, not in and it was in a constructive manner, and I always love his delivery, and especially his take on NVIDIA, but that's for another day. He's talked about the bug reporting queue being unmanageable now, and part of it is AI is multiple reporting, multiple issues the same, and also with AI, it's uncovering a lot of things. And so from that perspective, the backlog to get through that, and some of these are at the kernel level, and they're not fixed. They're mitigated, and we've done things to sidestep them, but they're not fixed yet, and that's troubling. And we talk about AI, like you said, the rah good parts. I use it every day, and I've automated a lot of things with it, and it's extremely useful in the marketing and the SEO half of my business. But on the other side, when it comes to code, I tend to think that when I use it as an assistant, I do it the right way. I write a lot of code before I ask it to write code, but you got a lot of people out there that don't. They enter a prompt that says, make chat GPT, make no mistakes, enter. And it writes something, and it puts software out there, and people are selling it. But guess what? It's full of bugs, security problems. And and it's not just, average Joes. We see a lot of, average developers doing this. And it's a selling thing from, the security vulnerability from solid security. But we talked about this a few years ago after 2020, when people had more time to hack and screw around, that, the vulnerabilities and the themes and plugins just on the WordPress side went from like 10 to 20 a week, and then it was consistently over 100. Now it's 300 plus every single week that there's a vulnerability or a patch. And that's the other part of AI. People are finding these and fixing them, but they're also introducing a lot of new bugs with new features. And it's from a security standpoint, I, used to harden, and you used to do the normal things. We had the checklist and normal things that you would do. I would spend maybe an hour a day going through, checking sites, logs, running updates, and all things were all well and good. I've had to spend entire days of my week. And when I talk about days, this is a 12 to 16 hour day, not an 8 hour day, fixing vulnerabilities, running patches, because a lot of the Linux things were manual things you had to run at the command line level, and I don't trust anyone else to do it. And then those things cascade. When a functionality is gone, it breaks something else. So it's just a snowball. And so the the lowest the lowest dollar item I have on my service list is web care, but it's taking the most time right now, and it's been really frustrating. And it's 100% because of AI.
You're not kidding me. I mean, I'll give you the classic example. You and I both use cPanel on many websites. And we know, was it last month or the month before? There was a major cPanel bug
Oh, actually, I'm cPanel free now.
yeah, that was under, but there was a cPanel bug that was
Hmm.
uncovered. And I have to tell you, that was AI that found the bug that was there for 10 to 15 years. It wasn't any other reason. And what we all got to understand is, if we're using AI sort of pros, and there's no question. I mean, there was a well-known former WordPress person whose name shall not be mentioned on this podcast, and decided to hard code their CMS, vibe coded. And I remember when it happened, I said, that's a recipe for disaster. And I started counting days. I got to 8. And then somebody took out the CMS because AI interjected, and all these people running around thinking, oh, my code's secure, are in for a rude awakening as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, yeah, and that happens all the time. To this day, uh, Replit and Lovable have a bug in every piece of code that's put out that's insecure,
Yep.
and they haven't fixed it, and they know it. I keep checking to see if they've closed that hole, and I'm not going to mention what it is because it can be exploited. But you have these vibe coding tools that create absolute garbage. It looks pretty, but under the hood, I've looked at some of the code output, and don't get me wrong, I use it all the time when I write code, and so I've been doing it. I want to say probably the right way, using frameworks like Laravel or WordPress plugin standards, where you have guardrails and we have security standards built in. And when you adhere to those at the minimum, and I've been writing PHP for the better part of almost 20 years now plus, and among other languages, I can look at the code and see if it's outputting garbage or not. And a lot of times there's some crap in there, and there are some holes for that can be exploited. And at the average person that's not a developer doesn't go and look for them. They put together, a prompt, they get a piece out, and then they go out and sell it.
I was going to
That's
tell
that's kind of
you
scary.
one more that's not even code related. So I had this guy who was chasing me to be on this podcast. And the first email I ignored. Did I tell you the story? The second email I
Mhm.
ignored. The third email, I said, "Screw this, I'll answer," and I'll book a pre-call interview. And what do I get back? An email saying my AI bot has been sending emails, and I'm not doing podcasts anymore. Are you serious? Like, there's another case
Mhm.
of AI in the agency world being a waste of time, that people are setting AI bots up and they don't even know what the hell they're doing. What
Yeah.
a and
Yeah. Well, that was the next thing I wanted to get into was not necessarily the bot stuff, but clients and their use of AI. And that's fine, use it, it's there. I have a couple of clients that have actually done some good things with using built-in agents in Monday to help them automate some workflow. When a lead hits a certain point, AI actually updates fields and does a lot of the manual work. Now that's a good implementation of AI, and that's
yeah.
an excellent use of it, and the proper things that you should be doing with it right now.
Mhm.
Granted, it's capable more, but you got to watch it and you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I would get blog posts from clients, hey, can you post this? And I'm like, this isn't gonna help your SEO at all, and will probably hurt you because it was not it's absolute garbage and doesn't reflect the brand. The voice of all the other copy on the site is different, and it's easy to spit out crap. And in the print world, we used to say garbage in, garbage out. You can only do so much, and a lot of times I offer to rewrite it, and 50/50, I end up rewriting the article. I might use AI, I might not, but that it's just those little things that you save a minute, but it's going to cost you a sale or a client down the road. I mean, I've even gotten burned when I've summarized some things with AI, and it's not been as accurate as I needed.
I
And
agree with
so,
you. I would go so far as to say, right, it's even costing you um, from a fraud protection plan. I mean, look at the phishing schemes. I get
oh,
20 a day as an agency owner, at least in my spam box, and they're getting really good right now. There was a
yeah.
guy in the Toronto area that was taken for $6,000 by an AI bot doing a grandparent scam the other day, and it was all AI generated. I mean, this is getting hard and hard and hard. And frankly, if it were me, excuse me, I would be setting up your phone. And a lot of us use cell phones for agency business, whether we should or shouldn't,
Mhm.
that's another thing. But my phone is set up. If you're not in my contact list, you're going to voicemail. And then it goes
Oh,
even
yeah.
to the point of, I will call you back. Like, if you're a new client and I haven't heard of you, I'll call you back. But I need a way to
Mhm.
streamline, because AI slop on the fraud and the stupidity side is getting ridiculous, and it's occupying way too much of my day, whether I like it or not.
Yeah, no, the uh the the schemes that they're running are just fantastically built. And when we talk about how believable it is, there's a kid in Tennessee that is running an OnlyFans account and all the social media 100% AI. He's taking in 43K a month. Now that's not hacking, but 43K a month for, a 19-year-old kid who just spun up, AI models and has a bot manage an AI orchestrated management system. He doesn't touch it. It does everything for him. Uh, when we talk about people getting duped, uh, that's just one prime example. And that those are not the boomers that we used to make fun of for, opening the email and clicking
Yeah.
the link on the phishing scams. I mean, that's the level of and quality of material that AI is producing and doing it at scale. So, if you can imagine people willingly doing things like that, there's a lot of sophisticated hacks to get your credit card information now. And now we talk about API keys being stolen. I worry about WordPress 7.0 with putting in the API key where it is.
And
That
by the way, if you want more on that, go to the episode before this one, and Tim Nash and I had a dive into where we both sit on that.
Mhm.
So Tim does my monthly security show with me, and we talked exactly about that. Was one of the three big things on my mind this month. But I agree. And the worst part about AI from an agency standpoint is they say, "Oh, we're going to save money," and they haven't figured out putting all these API keys requires tokens, and the cost per token has actually gone up but not down. And if you look at even Gemini and Claude and OpenAI, the limits on the plans are changing by the day, and it's actually
Mhm.
getting more expensive, not less expensive, to do AI.
Absolutely. And, a lot of the AI bros out there will tell you local sucks. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't. And I run models on my Mac, and I'm in a unique position where I bought extra RAM for my MacBook Pro, my M series, when I picked it up. The CPU and the GPU share it. So I run a lot of things local. And I do that, one, for privacy for my clients, and two, it's cheaper. I'm running, the open source Gemini models, but the Chinese models, and DeepSeek, MinMax, those are fantastic, and they are on par with the previous versions that Claude's putting out. The models from Anthropic. And so you can save money there and do a lot of things on your own machine if you're set up the right way. And it's private. That's the other thing. People are feeding personal information. I've done it, about health, fitness,
Oh,
finance
okay.
into
I got a worse one. Let's go to finance. Mel Robbins, the well known podcaster, said recently that every senior should take their tax return in the US and put it in AI to optimize their tax return. That is
that's
such not a good idea, because the minute you do that, your financial data just became public information, folks.
Yeah, and so that's why I wanted to talk about local models a little bit. If I've been choosy about, especially client data. Now, if we're talking, the AI models online, I use Gemini a lot because I'm in the Google workspace, and it works great for connecting mail, sheets, docs, summarizing, cleaning things up, doing data manipulation in sheets. It's fantastic. So don't get me wrong, I don't want to bash AIs, and be all gloom and doom, but you have to be smart about it. And you talked about the compute cost. One, you have a lot of people saying no data centers. And so they're, even if they could build them, and they were here tomorrow, there still isn't enough compute. Uh, NVIDIA's CEO, Anthropic, OpenAI, Elon Musk has said it, that even in 10 years, if we could build what we wanted to, there still won't be enough compute. And it's just not possible. So you talked about cost. Well, if you don't build new data centers, and at and get a huge tax bailout, uh, then you actually have to pass the cost of stuff on to your actual clients and customers. So we saw Meta, Microsoft, Oracle, all these big software companies fire tons of devs. They've hired them back as contractors, which is kind of shitty, but they realized that AI couldn't replace the developers that they lost, and the code that it was outputting needed some human intervention to be, usable. Or, or, and this is good. This is another good one. AI is great at churning through data, but it doesn't have a memory. It's not a human. So that's another problem, that it loses context of where it's at. Um, so it's extremely useful, but for I don't want to say niche cases, but very specific use cases. If you can automate some certain processes that make your life easier, absolutely do it. Use AI to do that. But when it comes to larger things and wholesale replacing humans, it's not there yet. And that's something that I think a lot of people had a rude awakening. So this gloom and doom, where I think Anthropic had the chart that said we would have about 30% of the people still employed in marketing, finance, and all those markets by today. It didn't happen. And it's not going to happen. I had a really good conversation with he's been retired for a while, but a developer that I worked with 25 years ago, and he was already, in his 50s at that point. He said, I've seen all the stuff come along, and I was the new guy that worked in C and then PHP and and JavaScript a little bit back then, but those were the new languages that got compiled in the languages that he wrote in. And, the languages that he wrote in were compiled in into machine language. And he just said, it's just a new layer. When you talk to some of these guys that worked in machine language assembly, and then they started writing in C, which has been the standard forever, and Rust now.
By the way, which is the route I went. I actually, interesting enough, started in assembly and went into C and an old business language called COBOL. That's where everybody went 30 years ago. And I'm going to tell you, the techniques you use in those languages are no different than the techniques you're using in PHP or web languages or stuff we're using today. The mindset is the same. It's the syntax that's different. Honestly, there's not much of a difference.
And that's the thing. Once you learn one language and then you learn another, the syntax there's enough similarity in there that you can pick up the different languages. And that's the thing. AI is still writing in those human readable languages today. It's not writing binary. Some of these guys like Elon and Anthropic CEOs, so it'll just write the binary eventually. We're a long ways off from that. But AI as a whole, I think it's useful and in the right applications, but you can't just say, okay, AI is going to solve all my problems. I don't need to hire anyone. That's just not the reality. And I'm constantly struggling with, should I hire someone, or should I automate some things? I'm to the point where I'm hiring staff again. It's just necessary to do, and we're going to use AI tools to do our work. No question about it. But you need to be smart and use it where it's useful, and do things the old-fashioned way, because you still need to get work done at the end of the day. And sometimes using AI makes things more difficult from a creative standpoint, from a development standpoint. It doesn't always, and 4 out of 5 times, if you ask for the same item, you get a different response. It might be close, but it's different.
What I would suggest is, if you're an agency owner and you're using AI, especially if you're using it for stuff like copy and things like that, don't jump around from AI platform to platform. Standardize on one, because the AI will train it, if you do it right, to your voice, to your brand, to how you do things, and that takes time. And I know you and I probably both have over a year in the Gemini, at least, I would say, if not longer. And Gemini's getting really good. One of the problems, interestingly enough, I used to have is my last name is spelled with a C. Gemini used to start spelling it with a K till I told it to frig off and spell it with a C. And believe it or not, because I'm running it locally and I'm logged into Google as me, Gemini actually spells my last name right.
Yeah, and that was one thing that the frontier models weren't very good at for a long while. But if you're signed in and using it with your Workspace account and you're using, the pro version that comes with it, for my needs, I added the add-on extension, but it was $10 a month when I added on. Now it's 30.
Yeah.
And I didn't barely tapped into the levels. And if I need extra, I use my API key. Um, and I have that tied into local stuff. I don't have that out in the world in the world.
Of course not. It's a bad idea. But the point I'm making is the more you use a model, the better it gets for you. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, people don't understand AI will customize itself for the user sooner or later. So the key
I,
is, like, I believe, is don't jump around. Like, I really
right.
strongly believe that.
So Gemini itself is lacking a little bit in comparison to Perplexity and
Yep.
Claude. So some things that have changed in the newer versions, like Perplexity came out with computer and Network Chuck, a great CCNA guy that I follow. He had a good video on that, and he talked about how, we talk about how AI doesn't have a good memory. Well, it spawns its own sub-agents to help keep things in context and build and specialize. Claude, the latest models of Opus and Fable, and we need to talk about that before we close, but before the US government said, oops, you can't do that, would spin up sub-agents and processes and a lot of the things that we had to do manually earlier. Now, Fable wasn't really a thing for a while. It was just Mythos. And when we talk about Mythos, it had some fewer guardrails. So that was released to a very small set of individuals, security professionals only, and a few trusted people that were
Yeah, I
close
heard
to
that.
Anthropic. Everyone else got Fable 5, which had more guardrails and was dumbed down a little bit. Under the hood, it was pretty close, but we're already seeing a two-tier market for the frontier models. On certain people get access to certain things, and the plebes do not. And so when we talk about the lack of compute, well, that's part of why they did that, because man, these models take a massive amount of electricity to run and take a lot of
No
token
question.
usage. So I understand that, but um, the pricing structure, we're going to see it continue to rise, or we're going to see premium tiers split off, and they're going to be either locked out or completely unaffordable for the average agency owner.
I think it's already there. I think the average agency owner is having a tough time. I think free and AI is gone. Like, I really believe that.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
you use workspaces. I use Google One. The accounts are pretty, they're named different things, but
yeah, they're comparable. I mean,
they're
they're
comparable.
on the back end, they're using the same engines.
Yeah, it's pretty well the same. You know, and I think we need to. I think we need to keep doing it. I mean, I think you just got to be careful. I don't want to be all gloom and doom either, because AI solves a lot of problems.
Mhm.
It's just you got to realize it also creates problems, and I think that's the whole key.
Exactly. I think where we were in a little bit of a rush here with the security vulnerabilities. And I think Anthropic's latest model was just so much more capable at the context window. When we talk about tokens, this was such a huge thing when Gemma 4 came out, and the context window went from 128K for tokens. And a token isn't just a word or a byte. It's an object. It's different. And when it went to 262, that was great. Well, you have over 1 million token contacts in the Frontier models plus, and that takes a lot to keep in memory, a lot, and no local machine, unless you have multiple machines tethered together in a swarm, can handle that. Yeah, AI is fantastic, and there are a lot of things you can do with it, but for every problem that we're seeing, it's just uncovering things that were already there. and vulnerabilities. So I think we're in a little bit of a crunch right now. We opened with talking about, the Linux and the backlog with Microsoft. You hit it right there, and we didn't touch on it, that some of these are decades old. So
No
I think we're going to
question.
see a huge crunch, and that's why I'm cautiously optimistic that my burnout days of, a couple of 16-hour days back to back and pulling my hair out,
I hope mine are as well.
over the, the bugs and patches. I, I think part of it is you have security holes that are being closed. You have bugs being introduced that things will get worked out as we standardize more, and more bugs get closed. And also the tools are getting better. They're not outputting as much junk code. And that's why I'm starting to treat my local AI as a junior developer and
Yeah.
assistant, rather than and letting it write more code.
I agree with you. And for research, it's a really good way to do research. So, just for fun, to illustrate my point, I took, while we were chatting, a prompt. And my prompt was, who is Ryan Waterbury on the SDM show? Ryan, do you want to know what Gemini said?
Oh boy, this is going to be good.
On the SDM show, hosted by Rob Cairns, and by the way, spelt correctly. Thank you, AI. Ryan Waterbury serves as co host for the recurring agency chat segment. Rather than just talking about surface level tech brands, Ryan and Rob use the segment to share an honest, unravished look at the realizers, trials, and tribulations of running a digital business. They frequently dive into topics like magic, managing and navigating client support boundaries, establishing strategic systems first business models, reviewing digital agency tools and marketing stacks, addressing price strategies, client expectations, and avoiding business burnout. Outside of the work on this podcast, Ryan has over 20 years' experience in the creative and digital space and is the founder of One Dog Solutions, a creative agency focused on custom web design, search engine optimization, and managed WordPress care plans for small business. How about that for a little
That's
research?
that that's pretty good. And that actually hits on the head where I kind of niche down to that. I'm I'm only doing SEO or the little PPC when we do the lead gen half, and only doing, the web design development, and then supporting after. That's it. And doing
Yep.
any more these days, it's gotten impossible because of AI. It's just not trustworthy enough to hand the keys over to an orchestration agent for,
Yep.
real business applications. But writing internal tools and cleaning some things up, I've taken the task of, I have a bunch of snippets, JS here, a PHP snippet there, to do certain functions. I'm writing full plugins out of those, and I'm
Yep.
replacing, a lot of bloated tools. I think today I mentioned in our Slack group that I've been frustrated with some tools, um, where I this tool will block XML RPC. So will the other plugin. So will the server level. And it's just so bloated that I don't want tools to do everything. I want it to do a specific thing. So I've been going through and leaning out my own site, my own tech stack, and instead of, is there a plugin that can do it, wrapping up my scripts into a plugin, or a multi-use plugin with tools, because I control the code. I know it's clean and secure. Just when we've onboarded sites from, and usually it's web designers, not agencies or developers. Although this last one we got from an agency, um, SEO agency that builds websites to support SEO. The thing is a dumpster fire, and we're rebuilding it. But if they needed a feature, they added a plugin, and it also had overlapping features with another plugin. And I'm getting constant calls after we secured the site and cleaned things up and got everything updated. finally had to sit down and go through plugin by plugin. Which ones do you actually use and what features do you use out of here? And this was going to be a discussion in early July when we did website discovery. We had the triage session. Now we had to do early discovery because it's just that bad, that there's so much junk out there. But and every new plugin you install is another possible vector for an attack. And that's where I'm running into that. I look at my performance plugins having the same features as the security plugins. It's just a lot of extra code that loads that slows down your site for simple functions you could do at the server level too. But
Anyway,
it,
I think that sort of touches on a little bit about where we sit in AI and agency life. Both Ryan and I are saying, don't be afraid of it. Just watch how you use it. I think that's what it comes down to, and use it for the right reasons. If you want to support Ryan going over to One Dog Solutions, also make sure you say hi to his office manager. I think he's sleeping somewhere again.
Oh yeah, he came in and after the wind slammed the door shut and is sleeping under the desk again.
But that's nothing abnormal. Usually he shows his face or his voice on this show. So Ryan, have a good day, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks, and bye for now. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks again to our sponsor, All-in-One WP Migration by ServeMask. Export your entire WordPress site in one click, import it anywhere. No server access needed, no command line, works with every hosting provider. Free on WordPress.org, or extension at servemask.com. A very special thank you to Ryan Waterbury, my co-host, for joining us on Agency Chat on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.